The Pride Lands slept under a sky thick with clouds, but Mufasa could not rest. The air felt heavy, charged with an unease that pressed against his chest like a predator waiting in silence. Somewhere in the shadows, danger was moving, silent, patient, inevitable. This night was different. This night, he knew, would not end with the safety of dawn. Somewhere beyond the hills, claws sharpened, hearts darkened, and plans were made to destroy everything he loved. Mufasa, king of the Pride Lands, would face the test that would define him not just as a ruler, but as a lion who understood the cost of courage and the weight of legacy. The first sign came as a tremor beneath Pride Rock, a low rumble that was not thunder, but movement. Mufasa's golden eyes scanned the horizon. The hyenas had returned. Not for scraps, not for territory, but for blood. Scar had orchestrated it, the darkness left in the kingdom lingering in the hearts of those who thrived on fear. The shadows crept like smoke, enveloping the valleys and plains, feeding on panic. The king felt it in his paws, in his bones. If he failed tonight, the Pride Lands would fall before the sun even rose. He called the Lion Guard, the young warriors who had grown under his protection. Fuli, swift as the wind. Besht, strong as the mountains. Bunga, fearless in the face of danger. Ono, sharp-eyed and precise. Together, they formed a shield around their king. Yet Mufasa knew that the real danger would not be defeated by claws alone. He would have to face it head-on. And what waited was more cunning than any hyena, more relentless than any storm. The ground shook again, louder this time. The hyenas were moving, but they were not alone. Scar's influence lingered, a dark pulse running through the land. Mufasa could sense the shadows creeping over the plains, twisting the familiar landscape into a maze of fear. Even the stars seemed to hide behind clouds, as though the universe itself was holding its breath. Mufasa's roar split the night, a call not just to the Pride Lands, but to the courage within himself. Every step, every heartbeat, echoed the lesson he had learned from being king. Fear could paralyze, but courage could ignite. 2. The first wave struck from the west. Mufasa led the charge, moving through the chaos with a precision born of years of leadership. Fuli darted ahead, cutting through enemy ranks with unmatched speed. Besht held the center, a living fortress. Bunga charged with reckless bravery, scattering the hyenas who dared approach. Ono circled above, guiding the guard and relaying threats with sharp cries. Yet for every hyena they defeated, 2 more seemed to emerge, as if the night itself conspired against them. In the midst of the battle, Mufasa's thoughts raced. He remembered Scar, his brother, whispering venom into the ears of those who would betray him. The darkness Scar had left behind was not a single enemy, but a contagion, spreading fear and chaos. Every lion that hesitated, every animal that fled, became a testament to Scar's enduring influence. Mufasa realized that defeating this night required more than strength. It required heart, clarity, and the unbreakable bond between him and those who stood beside him. The fight escalated near the gorge, where the land's cliffs created a natural battlefield. Hyenas surrounded them, shadows in the dark, teeth glinting, eyes burning. Mufasa roared again, his voice carrying authority, command, and the promise of protection. He moves with purpose, striking not to kill indiscriminately, but to protect, to guide, to hold the line. The hyenas lunged, and for a moment, the balance of the Pride Lands teetered on the edge of ruin. Mufasa could feel the weight of every life, every decision, pressing down on him. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and the kingdom would fall before dawn. Then came the moment that tested him beyond strength. A massive hyena, larger than the rest, charged with lethal intent, aiming directly at Mufasa. In that instant, time seemed to slow. Mufasa's mind raced through every lesson of courage, every principle of leadership, every reason he had fought to protect the Pride Lands. With a swift maneuver, he intercepted the beast. Claws meeting teeth, jaws snapping, the two locked in a deadly struggle. The hyena's force pushed him perilously close to the edge of the gorge. Mufasa felt the abyss below, a reminder of mortality, a whisper of death's inevitability. He could hear Scar's voice in the wind, a phantom taunt. Even kings fall, Mufasa, and lions die. But Mufasa roared louder, defying not just Scar's memory, but the fear within himself. With a burst of strength, he threw the hyena back, sending it tumbling into the shadows below. The battle continued around him, but the king's resolve had solidified. He would not allow fear to rule. He would not allow the Pride Lands to fall. Not tonight. Hours or perhaps minutes passed in a blur of claws, teeth, and roars. Every corner of the Pride Lands was tested. Streams were crossed, dens defended, young cubs shielded. Mufasa moved through it all, a force of courage, a beacon in the darkness. His mane was wet with rain and sweat, his body exhausted, yet his spirit burned brighter than any storm. The hyenas, sensing their leader's unwavering strength, began to retreat, their shadows dissolving into the night from whence they came. But the night had one final test. Scar's lingering influence, the darkness in the hearts of the disloyal, coalesced into a single figure, a shadowed phantom of the king's own fears. Mufasa faced it alone. There, this enemy had no claws, no teeth. It was doubt, it was regret, it was the ghost of all he feared failing. The Pride Lands watched from a distance, sensing the weight of this unseen battle. Mufasa closed his eyes, drew on every memory of love, every bond he had forged, every life he had protected. He roared not at the shadow, but at himself, at the fear threatening to paralyze him. The phantom wavered, then shattered under the force of Mufasa's will. He had faced death, not just the physical, but the one that lurks inside every heart when courage falters. The Pride Lands exhaled, the first light of dawn spilling across the plains, painting the grass gold. Mufasa stood tall, mane glistening, eyes burning with the certainty of a true king. He looked over the savannah, over the lives he had sworn to protect, and knew the truth. A king is defined not by how he fights when the world watches, but by how he stands when death comes before sunrise. And in that moment, Mufasa had proven that even in the darkest hour, courage, honor, and heart would always light the way. The Pride Lands were safe, for now, but the memory of the night would live forever. A testament to the king who faced death in darkness and emerged unbroken. The lessons of courage, leadership, and sacrifice would echo through generations, reminding every lion cub that true strength is born not from power alone, but from heart, wisdom, and the courage to face what others cannot. First, the first rays of dawn barely touched the horizon when Mufasa finally allowed himself a moment to breathe. The Pride Lands were quiet now, the echoes of battle fading into the misty plains. Yet in that silence, a deeper tension lingered, one that claws and teeth could not explain. Scar's shadow still haunted the kingdom, not as a lion now, but as a memory that whispered in every frightened heart and tempted every lion who had felt fear. Mufasa knew this was only the beginning. True peace required more than surviving the night. It demanded vigilance, wisdom, and courage even when the world was silent. Simba padded close to his father, wide-eyed and trembling. "Father, will they come back? Will the hyenas return?" Mufasa's gaze swept across the plains, golden light painting the grasses, turning each blade into a reflection of resilience. "They may try," he said solemnly, "but strength alone isn't enough to protect the Pride Lands. You need heart, courage, and the wisdom to know when to fight and when to lead." The Lion Guard gathered near Pride Rock, weary but alive, fully stretched, muscles stiff from the night's relentless chaos. Besht shook his massive frame, water droplets flying. Bunga yawned, but his usual spark was dampened by the tension of the night. Ono, perched above, scanned the horizon, sharp eyes still wary of every movement. Mufasa approached them, his presence commanding yet comforting. "You did well," he said, voice carrying over the plains. "Tonight tested more than our strength. It tested our hearts. Never forget that. Loyalty, courage, and the willingness to protect these are what make a true lion guard. Never let fear rule you, even when it seems unstoppable." The guard nodded solemnly. They had witnessed the darkness, and they understood that survival was only one part of leadership. The lessons of the night would remain in their hearts forever. But Mufasa knew that Scar's influence was far from gone. Even without him on the plains, the darkness had left marks in the hearts of those who had watched from the shadows. Waiting for weakness, waiting for opportunity, the king understood that he could not fight shadows alone. He had to inspire courage in every lion, every animal, every heart that called the Pride Lands home. That afternoon, Mufasa convened a council on Pride Rock. The lions, lionesses, and trusted allies gathered, still wary but attentive. "Tonight, we faced the consequences of fear and betrayal," Mufasa began. "We have survived, but survival alone does not make a kingdom strong. We rebuild together, stronger, wiser, united." He looked at Simba, pride swelling in his heart. "And you, my son, watch carefully. A true king leads not with claws alone, but with patience, wisdom, and love. Remember what you saw tonight, the weight of responsibility, the courage it takes to protect, the strength to face even your darkest fears." The days turned into weeks, and the Pride Lands began to heal. Waterholes refilled, grass grew tall again, and herds moved freely across the savannah. But Mufasa remained vigilant. Every shadow, every unusual movement reminded him that peace was fragile and a king's work never truly ended. Scar's ghost was gone in body, but not in memory. It lingered as a warning. Power without heart leads to destruction, and a kingdom is only as strong as the courage and unity of its inhabitants. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in gold and crimson, Mufasa stood atop Pride Rock. The Lion Guard gathered around him, their faces showing fatigue, but also determination. "We have faced death before sunrise," he said, voice firm. "We stared into darkness and refused to yield. This is the lesson we carry forward. A true king protects, inspires, and endures, even when the odds seem impossible." Simba climbed beside his father, tail brushing his mane. "Will it ever be safe again?" he asked softly. Mufasa nuzzled him. "Safe is never guaranteed, but courage and unity make us strong. Together, we face whatever comes." The Pride Lands stretched out below them, bathed in the glow of sunset, alive and resilient. Hyenas may lurk, darkness may creep, but Mufasa knew that as long as courage, honor, and wisdom ruled the hearts of lions, the kingdom would endure. As night fell once more, stars appearing one by one in the sky, Mufasa reflected on the lessons learned. Death, darkness, and betrayal had tested him not just as a lion, but as a king. He had faced fear before sunrise and emerged stronger, more determined, and more aware of the true meaning of leadership. And though the future remained uncertain, one truth was clear. The Pride Lands would survive not because of fear or strength alone, but because a lion with heart, courage, and unwavering resolve stood guard over them. Mufasa had faced the darkness, and in doing so, he had shown the kingdom that even in the deepest shadow, a true king's light would never fade.